Dr. Edmond Offermann je nizozemski naučnik i filantrop. Dugi niz godina bavi se eksperimentalnom fizikom na prestižnim evropskim i američkim univerzitetima. Dao je ogroman doprinos za rekonstrukciju i revitalizaciju Trebevićke žičare, ali i brojnih drugih turističkih i obrazovnih institucija u Bosni i Hercegovini. O njegovim vezama sa Sarajevom, obrazovnom sistemu na Balkanu, izdavanjima za nauku i tehnologiju, za Al Jazeera govori Edmond Offermann.
So, Mr. Offermann, hello and welcome to the Al Jazeera Balkans channel, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. Now, you're a visitor and often somebody who visits Sarajevo quite often, and you're also known as the man who played an instrumental role in revitalizing Sarajevo's famed cable car. Now you are working on a number of various educational projects in Sarajevo and throughout the country. On a personal level, what are the ties that bind you to this city, to this country?
As is probably now known in the public, I'm married to somebody from Sarajevo. And what is maybe not known is that my brother is actually also married to somebody from Sarajevo who was born here. So since '88, except during the war, I visited Sarajevo yearly. So I've been following very closely all the developments, political, also what is going on educationally, and one of the things with the cable car, for instance, it is I'm impressed by mountains, I'm impressed by cable cars. I ran a cable car company in Switzerland, so I had my connections, and I know I took a cable car ride before the war here. I enjoyed it very much. I knew the importance of it, connecting two parts of Bosnia and Herzegovina to the Republika Srpska and the federation down here. So I saw its symbolism, and I thought, I told people I want to rebuild it. And that was a very, very long project, very, very long. I got a lot of help also in the end from people here. I mentioned the names before. I had with Professor Anto Domazet, I was involved, Komčić Mayor, Mayor Skaka, all of them, and in the end it was up and running. And so I enjoyed coming here and say, hey, we did that. And so now I think that was just an obsession for me, the cable car. I am busy with something where I really have competence in, and that is in the educational system, particularly in physics, big collaborations, big machinery, commissioning that, and so I have a passion for that, and I know what it means to have the ability, but you don't have the instrumentation to show what you can do. Right. So I will work on that now.
Now, when you compare Bosnia with other countries in the Balkans, I know this is a question which has been asked millions of times to any foreign observer, but what is it, in your opinion, that makes Bosnia specific? Does this country have any advantages compared to the rest? Does it have any untapped potential in your view?
Yeah, I can read the Wikipedia about Bosnia and see how much hydropower, etc. I think what is interesting about that, interests me, fascinates me about this country, are these different ethnicities here wandering around, and how that functions, how they can collaborate or not collaborate, and trying to help to find a common denominator, which I believe is science.
But do you think this country has been paying enough attention, investing in science since the end of the war?
From my observation, I am surprised how little investment has been made in science by both Bosnia, but also by the surrounding European countries. Specifically, I've been following now for 30 years the Institute of Physics here, and these people are not given the chance to show how good they are. You had here instrumentation. My wife actually was educated there, and so are my friends, who I have in New York, and they use instrumentation from just after World War II. Apparently, the students that now got educated here are using the same instrumentation damaged by the war. I mean, what fun it is to come to do a measurement and next day you come back and you cannot reproduce the previous measurement. That's fundamental that you can do that. So you are fighting the instrumentation instead of doing science. So I help now to get that changed.
When you talk about the role played by the international NGO sector in Bosnia over the last 25 years, that's a very long time, it's a quarter of a century. A lot of money, millions and millions of dollars have been invested in various projects from rule of law monitoring, democratic transitions, respecting human rights, this and that. However, we still face some of the most acute problems that we faced back in 1996. So why has very little of that changed over this very, very long period of time?
I can give you my opinion. I can't understand that after a war happens here, that you put the parties together and you task them to write a new constitution. That should not have happened. What you should have done here is what the Americans did in Japan. You put a viceroy here and you dictate what is going to happen. And then party will come to the census and then you let them work. I've been sitting in the airplane now for plus 30 years with people visiting Bosnia from Europe, and I each time wonder I see that's how they make money to pay the mortgage at home, but what they are doing here is not clear to me.
You're talking about foreign expats working
Absolutely.
in Bosnia?
Yes. How comes that they missed that the Department of Physics is in this shape? I mean, one should understand, and the same goes, by the way, for chemistry and biology. The science is the part of the university that has the most rigor. In our science, you can't pretend you have a title, or you cannot buy a title. You come at a conference, you're laughed away. So what is happening here, the pillar of a society, one of the pillars is science. And I have been observing that here it is decaying. I mean, I understand the system that in the following sense that I believe if I have the number right, 18% of the people are employed by government jobs. So apparently to get a government job, you have to show a piece of paper that you have a title. So what happens, the natural reaction is that there will be a lot of opportunities there for private universities to provide you a title without people checking whether the title is worth anything. So what you right now have at the university is that at the public university is that the number of students is going down. They're going to the easy way to the private university to get their degree there. The fact that this degree might not be of any use outside of Bosnia does not occur to the people. So,
but do you think European countries face the same issues after World War II, Germany, France, the Netherlands?
No.
No?
I mean, I was educated in the Dutch system. We had long-term projects, I come from the National Institute of Nuclear Physics. I did my PhD in Amsterdam, and these are projects that run over decades. I mean, mention to me one project here that has international collaboration, is running over many more years and has funding from the university or from Canton at the moment. I cannot mention one, at least not at the Department of Physics and probably.
So if you look at the Department of Physics in Sarajevo, what is the biggest challenge? I mean, is it the gap between theory and practice? Is it a lack of funds? Is it a lack of competent professors? Is it a lack of international collaboration?
Well, let me immediately make clear, the professors I engaged with are extremely competent. They are just lacking the tools. And at the moment, they can only prepare students at the moment either become a teacher at high school, become part of the radiation department at the University of Sarajevo. I mean, these are sub fields. This is not serious. You need a department that is, has serious engagement in different fields. So
there are no options for research whatsoever?
No, actually there are some possibilities to do research where you do some, I guess, literature studies here, and then you go to Zagreb or to Belgrade to do the measurement and come back. So you have to sit once a week on a bus to go back and forth. That's not serious. And the governments, the people here should have informed themselves and should know that. What should happen is that, look, the internet was invented by physicists, by scientists. So you really, this is a jewel at the university. These are the people that later will start startups, incubators around the university and start new projects. So what I did is now, I basically told the physicists here at the Department of Physics, make me a wish list. Show me what you need to do your experimental physics, teach your students. So they made a long list and we are busy implementing that list and it will be done in September. We get, in September, operationally in Bosnia and Hercegovina, the first electron microscope. You have nothing here. How can you do physics without the proper instrumentation? So students don't have to go anymore on the bus to Zagreb or to Belgrade to do the measurement.
How would you compare the situation in Zagreb and Belgrade or Ljubljana?
Yeah, that's a whole different world.
In what sense?
These people are part of international collaborations. They go to, for instance, to CERN, where I have connections with, this large underground accelerator where the Higgs boson was discovered. We had no collaborations with these people. And so that has to change. This has to, like Fortress Bosnia has to be broken open. You have not the structures in this country to run the academia like it is done in any other country. I give you examples. A normal university has a PhD program. A PhD program means that you can employ a student you give him a contract for 5 years so he or she can do the research. In this country, if you have a contract longer than 3 years, you have a job for life. That cannot work. I mean, normal places have a tenure track system for professors. You start as assistant professor, you're 5 years busy, after that your peers will review your work and you get a permanent position or you move on. That system doesn't exist here. Currently at the university you have more professors than these assistants. The pyramid is going in the wrong direction. I mean, you need assistants and some professors to guide them. So that has to be changed. So one of the projects I am now working on is with the physics department is we have to get what has been established there to make it more, to give it more rigor, to give them the instrumentation, all the things to get a PhD program in experimental physics going. The next step is we will work together with CERN and we are going to install here at the laboratory an ion source. So what is an ion source? That is like a bulb that is not producing light particles, but it's producing charged ions. These will be used to shoot into an accelerator to make high energy ion particles. We will establish here a laboratory where a source like that will be developed. We start first at CERN. We are going to buy this year a commercial source. We started to get it commissioned at CERN, install it. have a senior scientist go there and learn the ropes, then the machine will be brought over here. And the next step will be then to add to that accelerator elements to make the energy of these particles higher. And then there are two options. There is an international collaboration for putting a hadronic particle beam here on the Eastern Balkan for cancer treatment. And Bosnia is a member of that, so we are going to supply the source for that. If this collaboration will not take off, like often that can in science, that the funding is not there or the collaboration doesn't function, then this source will be used with these accelerator elements to make an isotope factory here, so we can make isotope for the radiation treatment of patients. We don't have then anymore to fly these isotopes in from Ankara or from Slovenia. We have it here. And so this we will get, there are not that many ion source specialists in the world. This will become a center for this technology right here in Bosnia. This will create scientists, high quality scientists that are in demand anywhere in the world, and also in Bosnia can start, in incubators and start spin-offs and have their own ideas.
Right. When you talk about Bosnia's primary and secondary educational system, I mean, according to a recent UNICEF report, over 80% of the young people in Bosnia feel that their grades are not an adequate measure of their learning. How can teachers more effectively assess their students' learning? What are the practices in Western parts of Europe?
So, I believe that's everywhere now a little bit, this thing of grades don't really express my state of knowledge of the subject, okay? What is nice about grades, at some level, it is something you can measure and something you can compare. So one has to come up then with another system of judging if the student knows the topic or not. And I still think that grades are the better way to go. So we had also in the United States, we are not going to use the SAT results anymore for entry into the universities. But what are you going to use then? You're going to ask their parents how good they are? You're going to ask the students? I am still in favor of grades because it's an objective way to measure things. And I understand some people are better at taking exams than others. So, well, maybe you have to give the student a little bit more time to do the exam. But I'm still in favor of grades.
Now, moving on to politics and society, Bosnia is currently undergoing one of its most serious post-war crises. There's a lot of foreign meddling from neighboring Serbia and Croatia, but also from countries such as Russia. Do you have a feeling that since Russia's renewed invasion of Ukraine in February this year, that Bosnia and the Balkans in general are back under the spotlight of the international community?
Well, many people can express themselves better than I can in these political matters. I can only, a fact is what happens in the Ukraine. Ukraine is, 10 times bigger in many things than Bosnia, so probably has more weight. Then I think the only thing, my observation about problems here is that if some neighbor starts making trouble, they are not bordering Russia. We are not afraid of meeting Russian soldiers. We Americans come again and will give you hell. That would be my only comment. But I don't want to perpetuate the consistent, always the same talking points by politicians in this country. There are definitely issues I'm worried about too, apparently maybe ethnic voting would come. I cannot imagine that it will come, but let's concentrate maybe. I want politicians in this country to talk about job creations. I don't know actually any party, I'm not informed about it, that has a clear plan going forward how to make sure that people, young people, can stay in this country and get a job. They all are quarreling about the same issues, the problems with their neighbors, and for sure there will be meddling, but you have to unite in this country.
When you talk about people leaving this country and moving towards mostly West European countries, this has been a major issue, a major challenge for Bosnia as a whole over the last 15 years. Entire families are moving out. What do you think should be done to stop this exodus? We're talking about a very serious brain drain as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And this will impact the country in the decades to come.
I mean, you will have the way things are going at the airport. There will be a sign, will the last Bosnian please turn off the light? I mean, that's the direction you are going here. So again, the only way to keep people here is to make sure there is perspective with jobs. And jobs means not a job in government, a job that is, you have to also create labor laws that make it possible to create jobs. I myself, coming back to education, I have real issues there. I would like to start a PhD program like in Western countries, where you get a contract 5 years to finish your PhD. That's not possible in this country. The labor law says here that if after 3 years you have a permanent job. It's not possible in this country to have this tenure track system for professors. Again, a tenure track would mean, after 5 years, this assistant professor would be judged by his peers to see if he is an asset for the faculty or not. Well, after 5 years, this person has a job for life. You can't get rid of him anymore. So these are all roadblocks for trying to go in the direction of a more open economy like in the West. You have your foot still in two worlds. Economy driven by the state, or you have the more Western kind of economy. That has to change. Another thing I think that has to change too, ownership. Who owns what in this country? I mean, you were very quick in this country to make sure that by former communist buildings taken from religious organizations were given back to the church and to the mosque. By the way, not to the Jewish community. There is still property there that should go back. But what about private property? I mean, that has to be solved. That it is clear that if you own, that you buy, you invest in something, you own it also. Maybe later, in 20 years, somebody says, no, that was mine. So that has to be solved too. Well, again, my contribution is I can maybe do a little thing in education here, Department of Physics, start a experimental PhD program in experimental physics to give people opportunity who are willing to put in the sweat and tears to stay in this country.
Right. Mr. Offermann, it was a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much once again for your time.
Well, thank you for interviewing me and giving the ability to express my opinion about what's going on here. Thank you.
Thank you.